It's Monday, August 17th, and this is now on HNN.
I'm just worried.
The fall semester begins for Hawaii public schools despite COVID concerns.
This rate of spread is now not sustainable, and it does look very likely that the governor and the mayor will have to make a hard decision to have a stay-at-home order.
This just in, a Honolulu man who worked for the CIA has been charged with selling secrets to China.
With less than 3 months until Election Day, a battle over mail-in voting and the removal of mail collection boxes. I'm Nancy Chen with how lawmakers have been called back to vote on the U.S. Postal Service.
These stories, plus breaking campaign news in the race for Honolulu's next mayor, coming up on This Is Now.
Good afternoon, thank you for watching This Is Now on this Monday. I'm Jonathan, your director, alongside Ashley here. We got to start with some breaking news. That's because there's been a big espionage arrest here on Oahu.
A Honolulu man and former CIA operative has been charged with helping China spy on the United States. U.S. Attorney Kenji Price just held a press conference with the FBI. Let's take a listen.
The defendant, who was a former CIA officer, betrayed this country by conspiring to communicate classified information to intelligence officials of the People's Republic of China. Today's charges show the Justice Department's commitment to prosecuting those whose conduct risks endangering the national security of the United States.
Authorities say 67-year-old Alexander Yuk-Ching Ma moved to Honolulu from Hong Kong in 1968 and began his CIA career in 1982. They say he became a compromised asset of the Chinese Ministry of State Security by at least early 2001. In March 2001, Ma is alleged to have conducted a series of at least 5 meetings with Chinese intelligence officials in Hong Kong. Officials say he voluntarily and knowingly conveyed information about CIA protocols, including information about human assets and CIA officer identities.
And we'll have much more on this story coming up on our evening editions of HNN, but now we need to get to some latest coronavirus news.
That's right. The State Health Department is reporting 174 new COVID-19 cases today. The breakdown shows 163 are on Oahu, 9 are on Maui, and 2 are on the Big Island. Meanwhile, some public school students are back on campus today, which has some parents and teachers worried. Our Casey Lund spoke with some of them.
The original start date for public schools was August 4th, but then they pushed that back to August 17th, today's date. Then DOE came out and said they'd be doing the first 4 weeks of school by distance learning, all online education, which has a lot of parents asking, why have students come to campus at all if that's the plan? Here at Ka'uluela Elementary, students have been separated into 2 groups. Each group will be on campus for 2 hours a day for all 4 days this week, with Friday being a state holiday where all public schools will be closed. The administration here does have a detailed pickup and drop-off plan posted to its website to keep students, teachers, and parents as safe as possible. The gates here opened at 7:40 this morning for those Group A students, only reporting to school between the hours of 8 and 10. From 10:45 to 12:45, Group B students are on campus. I talked to one grandparent here who has 2 students at this elementary school. She says she's still a little uneasy about this plan.
I'm not really for it. I'm just worried that they don't catch it because I'm in that age bracket where, you know, it's not good for me. But I gave them a little small lecture and they say, yes, we know, Mama. And I said, okay, good. I know kids going to be hard to keep them 6 feet apart because their friends are there. But I told my grandchildren, please keep, 6 feet apart because we have family at home and you have to be concerned.
HSTA reports the principal here filed a joint request with DOE and HSTA for an exception to that 6-foot social distancing requirement, but that request was denied. At Waialua High School and intermediate school, students are scheduled to return this week. They'll be on campus until 1:30 in the afternoons, with distance learning beginning next week. At Moanalua High School, administration made a last-minute change yesterday, moving away from having students return to campus at all and going to full digital, only making appointments to come to campus if they have problems connecting. These plans all vary by school. You should stay in touch with your students, teachers, and the administration at your school to make sure you're on top of their learning plan for the beginning of this school year. I'm Casey Lunn reporting downtown for This Is Now.
The other big question that comes to mind is what happens if a teacher gets sick? Here's DOE Superintendent CHRISTINA Kishimoto.
So we know that health officials have said that it's not if, it's a when, that in fact, we're going to continue to see cases in our community, and our schools are part of community. And so there's no way to say that a school is a pure bubble that is separate from community. And our teachers and kids live in community and families. So right now we have substitutes that have been trained with the same training as teachers for distance learning to provide those supports. And we will be making decisions week by week based on what's happening in community.
Besides those public schools, RIMPAC is also officially getting underway today, and it's scaled way back. This year's event includes 10 nations, 20 ships, 5,000 personnel. 5 times as many were actually here last year though. When the ships make logistic stops at Pearl Harbor, sailors will not be allowed to leave the pier.
Very carefully and deliberately planned to make sure it minimizes risk to the people of Hawaii, our forces, and our allies and partners.
Now on Sunday, protesters on Oahu rallied in this rolling caravan demanding the cancellation of RIMPAC. RIMPAC is set to continue through the end of the month.
We have some breaking news in the race for Honolulu mayor. Former mayoral candidate and Congresswoman Colleen Hanabusa just announced she's endorsing Rick Blangiardi for the city's top job.
I could, of course, stay silent. That's always an option. But in these times, I don't believe that it is. In these times, we are going to face difficult circumstances, and we need someone who can make those hard decisions. And that is what I believe we have with Rick Blangiardi.
I was humbled before she spoke. I'm humbled now. I do think that this is an incredible leadership challenge and opportunity. My life's work has prepared me for this.
Hanabusa finished third in this month's primary election and did not get enough votes to advance to the general election runoff. Last week, U.S. Senator Brian Schatz said he's throwing his support behind Keith Amemiya, who Blangiardi is going head-to-head with in November. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi is calling lawmakers back from vacation to vote on a bill to stop changes to the U.S. Postal Service before the election. Nancy Chen has more.
As the U.S. Postal Service gears up for an unprecedented number of mail-in ballots due to the coronavirus pandemic, Democrats are calling on President Trump's new Postmaster General to testify on recent changes he made that are causing delays in mail deliveries.
It's absolutely critical that we have a hearing and hear directly from the Postmaster.
Democrats accuse Louis DeJoy, a major GOP donor, of using the agency to discourage mail-in voting in order to increase the president's re-election chances, something the president denies.
I have encouraged everybody, speed up the mail, not slow the mail.
A memo obtained by CBS News shows the Postal Service is in the process of removing 671 mail sorting machines nationwide. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows insists the machines will not be taken away before the election.
There's no sorting machines that are going offline between now and the election.
Last month, the Postal Service warned all 50 states that thousands of ballots may not be counted because mail-in ballots may not be processed fast enough for November's election.
In a statement Sunday, the Postal Service said it would postpone moving mail collection boxes for a period of 90 days while we evaluate our customers' concerns, though it said their removal is routine and related to declining mail volumes. The post office has asked for an additional $25 billion to help with processing the mail-in ballots, but the money is tied up in negotiations over a new coronavirus relief package. Nancy Chen, CBS News, New York.
So who's working on your unemployment claim? Here's Howard Dykes with some new information for you.
Some state workers who transferred to the unemployment office to pitch in have returned to their regular jobs, but the Department of Labor and Industrial Relations still has 11 volunteers from other agencies helping the 23 people working on the regular adjudicator staff, plus 6 retirees who came back in to help, and 12 new hires. Then, on the special team at the convention center, there are 15 other Labor Department personnel, 20 volunteering from other agencies, and 8 new hires. They've also got about 50 full and part-timers doing PUA claims exclusively, and 3 new hires that are working exclusively on Uber and Lyft claims. And the DLIR is still hiring claims examiners. Smith Travel Research, which does the regular hotel occupancy reports, now forecasts that the hotel industry won't see full occupancy recovery until 2023. Hawaii occupancy, of course, was 15% in June. It's usually 85 or 90%. STR predicts room revenue won't recover until a year later in 2024. Hawaii RevPAR, that's revenue per available room, has fallen to $25 at a time when last year it was several times that. The big wild card for Hawaii is whether its luxury component will hurt because of sticker shock or help because of deep-pocketed travelers.
Thanks, Howard. Meanwhile, the state's biggest international travel partner, Japan, is reporting its worst drop in GDP on record as coronavirus cases surge in the country. Kaori and Joji reports from Tokyo.
A painful reminder of the virus's toll on Japan's economy, which registered the most catastrophic 3-month plunge on record. GDP in the second quarter of this year dropped 7.8%, plunging the world's third largest economy deeper into recession. The drop translates to a nearly 28% annual rate of decline, the worst since modern record-keeping began in 1980. Japan joins the likes of the US, the UK, and many others that are struggling to grow as world trade slows. About half of Japan's economic activity comes from consumption, and that's been slow to rebound after a national emergency ended nearly 2 months ago. A surge in new virus cases since mid-July, economists say, could spell further trouble ahead. Japan has logged about 19,000 new infections in the last 2.5 weeks, about a third of the total number of cases since the pandemic started. With many state relief measures set to expire at the end of September, all eyes are now on whether the Japanese government will announce new stimulus measures to keep the economy afloat. Kaori and Joji for CNN, Tokyo.
Over the weekend, we learned that the state Supreme Court is going to allow the release of some inmates as OCCC struggles to deal with an ongoing outbreak. Pre-trial detainees who are charged with petty misdemeanors or a misdemeanor and individuals incarcerated solely for those convictions will be released from the facility by Wednesday. Exceptions include those convicted of are charged with abuse of a household member, violation of a TRO, restraining order, or an order of protection. The inmate must not have COVID-19 symptoms, have been diagnosed with the disease, or be waiting for test results. The Public Defender's Office estimates the order will impact fewer than 300 inmates, and that's before all the exceptions.
So we're talking about a very small amount of people, very low risk people, people who ultimately shouldn't be in our jail in the first place. People who have been charged with offenses and they're there simply because they can't afford their bail.
Officials say the inmate must self-isolate for 14 days after being let out and report any symptoms that may occur to the health department. All pre-trial detainees released need to appear in Honolulu District Court on February 17th, 2021.
The outbreak at OCCC is causing major strain on the overcrowded jail. The Department of Public Safety says cramped conditions and quarantine lockdowns are creating agitation among inmates. Yesterday, they started another small fire, which staff quickly put out, in a common area in a housing unit. 40 prisoners needed to be relocated because of the fire, and 2 other inmates damaged a toilet and lighting fixture. DPS is investigating both incidents. And as Rick Daysog reports, many worry the infections are being spread to the community outside the jail.
Earlier this month, Joshua Espinoza was released from OCCC to a drug treatment center where he later tested positive for the coronavirus. He wrote in a Facebook posting that just days before he was let out, he was placed in the same module where many inmates got infected, and he was given little or no protection from the virus.
Prison officials knew that he had been exposed to the virus and released him nonetheless.
His attorney, Eric Seitz, says Espinoza is now in a hotel under self-quarantine, getting no help from prison officials or healthcare professionals.
But I'm sure that Mr. Espinoza is not the only person out there. They let people out every day. My best guess is there are scores of people out in the community who have been exposed and are spreading the illness.
So far, 200 inmates and ACOs have tested positive at OCCC, but Seitz says many more like Espinoza may have been released without being tested, unwittingly exposing thousands they had come into contact with.
Gross negligence. This is like deliberate indifference.
Kat Brady of the Community Alliance on Prisons believes the reported cases at OCCC are just the tip of the iceberg at the facility.
And it's only the beginning, because as of Friday, I think they had only tested 2.5 modules. So there's 19 modules.
The Department of Public Safety says the decision to release Espinoza was made by the courts and not their agency. They say testing at OCCC is ongoing.
The facilities follow the PSD COVID-19 pandemic plan, which falls in line with CDC and DOH recommendations for quarantining inmates within the facility.
The spike in cases at OCCC has prompted renewed calls for the ouster of Department of Public Safety Director Nolan Espinda.
Because he hasn't done his job, and he hasn't shown the proper concern about the inmates that are under his control.
Other experts say the health department is also to blame.
We've known for months and months that conjugate living facilities, prisons, homeless shelters, nursing homes are our risk, yet there has been no guidance.
Governor Ige is basically just, playing the violin while the city burns, and it's just horrible. The Attorney General is minimizing the situation. The Director of Public Safety is inept and incompetent.
Rick Daysog, Hawaii News Now.
Honolulu firefighters are still monitoring hotspots from multiple brush fires in Kunia. This morning, police closed a section of Kaukonahua Road because of a fire. Officials are still investigating what caused the blazes to break out Sunday afternoon.
And that's a reminder, This Is Now is with you all the time. We were the first to post the video of this fire yesterday out of any other news agencies in town. So please check us out on our Instagram. It's our brand new Instagram account. We're posting breaking news all the time. All right, let's switch gears here. Let's take you outside. The time is now 12:17. Looking pretty beautiful out there. Let's get a check with Guy. He's back with us. Here he is with an update.
Aloha on this Monday. We have textbook trade wind weather today. That means a few showers this morning for those windward and Mauka areas, but really not much rain expected until maybe Wednesday night. And those trade winds will be running steady today. That will help with the humidity levels, except, of course, for the Kona side of the Big Island. Kona winds there mean a very humid day for West Hawaii. Other than that, we're going to see beautiful conditions out there. High temperatures running to about 90 degrees. Sunset tonight at 6:59 as the daylight is getting shorter. Now, as far as the surf, we still have some fun stuff rolling into the South Shore. Small, long periods while running. Head high sets at the better spots. Good conditions because of those steady trade winds. UV index is at 12, and we could get coastal flooding today for some areas because of that extremely high tide. So beautiful weather through Wednesday, and then Wednesday night, look for moisture to come in Thursday and Friday with scattered showers, and then drier conditions heading in for the weekend. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
All right, I love that music. One of my favorite segments, guys, from the feeds, and this one is a talker. All right, we talked about shortages of wipes, hand sanitizer, and now pizza! No! Well, not so much pizza, but the pepperoni that goes on it.
Oh.
Yeah, a lot of smaller pizza shops are saying that the higher prices are causing the shortage. Higher prices because of shortages of certain meat products. According to Bloomberg, some of the shops say the price is almost doubled per pound of pepperoni. Wow, that's a pretty big spike, right?
Yeah.
Especially if you're a small mom and pop shop. Larger chains don't really worry about it too much because they set their prices earlier with contracts for, the pepperoni market, I guess.
Oh, pepperoni shortage.
Yeah, they set this long in advance. But no, that's my favorite type of pizza. I'm a true, just pepperoni type of guy.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. What's your favorite pizza?
Jalapeno and sausage.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Totally.
I like the spice. And
What'd
check this out. The iconic Golden Girls house has sold for a lot more than the asking price. Now, the modest mid-century house was used in the first season of the beloved 80s era sitcom that starred Betty White and B. Arthur. Well, the Los Angeles home was originally listed just under $3 million, and it was sold on the market for a couple of weeks and sold for $4 million. No word on who bought it, but the listing agent was amazed at all the interest for the home, saying she had no idea there were that many Golden Girls fans in the world.
I'm one of them. That is a good pandemic watch.
Absolutely.
It really is.
And before Netflix, that was my go-to like late night, kind of just to go to sleep show.
I love that show. And can I just say it? Thank you for being a friend. I can't sing, but okay.
Good job.
Thank you, good job.
And Jennifer Hudson is doing a lot of good in Chicago. The Oscar-winning actress and singer handed out 2,000 backpacks filled with school supplies to needy students in her hometown. Now, Hudson, her sister Julia, and a group of volunteers delivered the supplies, which included face masks and hand sanitizer.
Love that. Love seeing all the celebrities step up to support, for real.
Definitely. And this is a pretty amazing story, you guys. So a man in Australia saved his wife from a shark attack by punching the shark multiple times until it let her go. We're going to hear from Molly Hunter.
This morning, Chantel Doyle alive and recovering an underwater encounter of the worst kind, all thanks to her brave husband. The couple was surfing on Saturday up the coast from Sydney.
It hit her like with a force and threw her off the board. I just saw the water splash and punch, and I knew instantaneously.
Her husband, Mark Rapley, paddled over, climbed onto her board, the shark biting into her leg.
If you're not thinking punch it, I don't think punch anytime soon. Your body reacts to saying get off, and so you start punching, and they feel like a ball of muscle. It feels like you're punching a brick wall, like it's hard.
On Saturday at Shelley Beach, lifeguards and other surfers responded immediately.
Yeah, application of a tourniquet, a makeshift tourniquet was utilised, and which was potentially a life-saving instrument.
Chantel was airlifted to a hospital, and this morning, she's one of the lucky ones.
She's in pretty good spirits, still strong, and yeah, she's hopefully all fine from here, but long road to recovery, I think.
Authorities now using drones, boats, and jet skis to track that shark. Molly Hunter, NBC News.
Wow, certainly lucky one there for sure. Haven't heard of any shark encounters happening here locally. Let's keep our fingers crossed. In a while.
Right. Yeah.
It's been a little while.
We've seen a couple in Australia though now.
Yeah. It's always scary to me. All right, let's get to some good news, guys. Please.
That's right.
Please.
So this is pretty cool. After losing his surfboard 2 years ago, a Hawaii-based photographer has found it, but now he has to go get it. Let me explain. So Doug Falter says he last had his board at Waimea Bay in February 2018. Now the 35-year-old told Surfline that his leash came off and the board vanished. So he turned to social media, hoping someone on the North Shore or maybe even on Kauai might find it. Turns out it ended up 5,200 miles away on a tiny island in the Philippines.
Whoa.
Now, someone contacted his shaper, Lau Carlson, on Facebook about 3 weeks ago, so Doug just needs to make a trip to the Philippines or get it here somehow.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit expensive to ship. Can you believe it made it that far? You hear about bottles and messages in the bottles making it that far, but never heard of the surfboard.
Very cool.
Trans-Pacific journey there. All right, guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now on this Monday. Sorry, it's Monday, and sorry to all you kids out there back to school, too. We're going to have a wrap-up of that story and so much more. We still haven't heard any official word of any press conferences from the governors or mayors, any sort, except for Mayor Victorino. He's going to have his daily 4:30 briefing. We do know of that, so look for updates on that as well. But we'll see you back here on our evening editions of HNN. And don't forget, check out our Instagram and SoundCloud and hear us anywhere you find us on your podcasts.